Welcome to the Embracing Happiness podcast, brought to you by Anthem EAP on behalf of Tri-County Schools Insurance Group. I'm your host, Amy Grazen. With over 20 years of experience in resilience and energy management training, as well as health and well-being coaching, I'm passionate about helping people live happier, more fulfilling lives. Today, we're diving deep into the concept of happiness. What does it truly mean to be happy? And how can we cultivate lasting joy in our lives? So I'll start with a question for you. How do you define happiness? I've asked that question to hundreds of people, and probably one of the most common answers I get is content. So reflect for a moment on how you would define happiness. Maybe think for a moment, when was a recent time you felt happy? You felt joyful. What were you doing? Oftentimes, it's something simple, like interacting perhaps with a child, noticing the beauty of nature, maybe a truly engaged experience with somebody who is important to us. And what's beautiful is that oftentimes those moments when we're experiencing happiness and or joy are simple moments. And what we need to do is to create more of that. Now, happiness is a complex emotion. It can be kind of difficult to define happiness. It's certainly more than just feeling good. It's a state of well-being that involves both emotional and psychological factors. So let's take a look at a brief history of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is a timeless endeavor. Philosophers and thinkers throughout history have pondered the nature of happiness and how to achieve it. From the ancient Greeks to the Enlightenment thinkers, happiness has been a central theme in human thought. In more recent times, positive psychology has emerged as a field of study that focuses on human strengths and well-being. One of the leading figures in this field is Martin Seligman, who has conducted extensive research on happiness, mostly at the University of Pennsylvania. Seligman's research has shown that happiness is not just a matter of luck or genetics. It's also a skill that can be learned and cultivated. As a matter of fact, as much as 40% of our happiness factor is created by us. And that's good news. We are empowered to create happiness for ourselves. So let's look at different types of happiness. Pleasure. This is the type of happiness that comes from immediate gratification, such as eating a delicious meal or listening to your favorite music. Then there's gratification. This type of happiness comes from achieving goals and accomplishing tasks. But perhaps the deepest form of happiness is meaning, which comes from connecting with something larger than oneself, such as a cause, a relationship, or a spiritual practice. And while I just challenged you to think about a time recently that you felt happy, we know that there can be challenges to happiness as well. And while happiness is a worthy pursuit, it's important to acknowledge that life is full of challenges. Stress, anxiety, and negative emotions can all hinder our ability to experience happiness. However, by understanding these challenges and developing effective coping strategies, we can overcome them and cultivate lasting joy. One significant obstacle to happiness is the difficulty we have in being present in the moment. Our minds often wander, preoccupied with past regrets or future anxieties. This constant mental time traveling can prevent us from fully experiencing the present moment and appreciating the simple joys of life. As a matter of fact, full engagement, or being present in the moment, is actually defined as an acquired ability to intentionally invest our full embraced energy in the moment. So the beginning of that, an acquired ability, tells us that it's not necessarily innate, that ability to be present in the moment. It might be something that we need to train in, to practice. Also, life is full of distractions. Beyond that internal dialogue or mental checklist that's constantly rolling, there's also technology. Those rings, dings, and pings from our devices and other people's devices can be a constant interrupter to our ability to be fully engaged or present in the moment. So think about, for you, what's required or what does create that opportunity for you to be fully engaged or fully present in the moment. We know there are certainly other challenges to happiness as well. One big one for us culturally is fear of the unknown. Uncertainty can be a major source of anxiety and can hinder our ability to embrace new experiences and opportunities. Social isolation. Lack of meaningful connections with others can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression. Negative self-talk. Sometimes we are our own worst critics, and self-critical thoughts can erode our self-esteem and undermine our overall well-being. Materialism. Excessive focus on material possessions can lead to dissatisfaction and a sense of emptiness. And finally, perfectionism. Striving for unrealistic standards can lead to frustration and disappointment. By recognizing and acknowledging these challenges, we can actually implement strategies to overcome them. We can significantly enhance our overall happiness and well-being. So maybe one of those resonated with you, from being constantly distracted, living more in your history or future than in the present moment. Maybe you recognize you have an unreasonable fear of the unknown, or you're feeling a little isolated. Maybe you recognize negative self-talk is something you need to get a handle on. Whatever it is, I think our first step is noting what's that barrier for you to being happy. Often, many of us view happiness as this elusive carrot, a distant goal that they constantly chase. We're often thinking, I'll be happy when. Fill in the blank for yourself. And what we know is that we can achieve those goals, perhaps reach some specific milestone, or attain a particular status. But typically, and research shows us that when we achieve whatever comes after, I'll be happy when, losing 10 pounds, finding a spouse, making more money, finally retiring, that people achieve those goals and have a small but very temporary boost in their happiness factor, but they go back to kind of that status quo or level of happiness that they were experiencing before. And what we recognize is that happiness is much more intrinsically driven. That mindset of I'll be happy when actually leads to perpetual dissatisfaction, as happiness is not a destination, but a journey. To cultivate lasting joy, focus on the present moment and practice some of these strategies. Mindful living, meditation, and yoga can be very helpful practices to calm the mind and increase our self-awareness. Gratitude journaling, regularly expressing our gratitude for the positive aspects of our life, can shift our focus to the good. Mindful eating, pay attention to the taste, texture, and smell of your food, savoring each bite. Next, think about the relationships in your life. Cultivate positive relationships. Nurture strong bonds. Spend quality time with the people who are most important. And prioritize open communication. Practice active listening. Give your full attention to others and validate their feelings. Give back to others. Volunteering and helping others can bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment. It gives us perspective, and often the act of volunteering makes us very grateful for what we have. Prioritize self-care. Remember, they tell us every time we get on an airplane to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, or we will not have the capacity to be of service to anybody else. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, our capacity to find happiness is often eroded as well. So your physical health, think about those pillars of your physical health. Exercise, moving throughout the day, eating a balanced diet, fueling your body, and getting quality sleep. Mental health is so important for self-care as well. Seek professional help if you need it, and practice stress management techniques. Our emotional health is also a crucial important part of self-care. Acknowledge and process your emotions in a healthy way. Next, set realistic goals. Break down large goals into smaller, bite-sized pieces, and give yourself credit for the progress you're making along the way. Celebrate those small wins. Acknowledge, reward your progress, no matter how small. Learn from your failures. Use setbacks as opportunities for growth and improvement. Embrace imperfection. Accept your flaws. Everyone makes mistakes and has imperfections. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself and avoid that little voice that likes to be your own worst critic. Let go of control. Sometimes things don't go just as we'd planned, and that's okay. Make sure that you are setting appropriate boundaries in your life. Remember, often, if we do like to be in control, we need to remember that we can care in certain instances, but we don't have to carry everything. By implementing these tips and shifting your perspective on happiness, you can cultivate lasting joy and fulfillment in your life. Remember, happiness is a journey, not a destination. Enjoy the ride. Thanks for listening to this podcast, Embracing Happiness, brought to you by Anthem EAP in partnership with TCSIG. You can always reach your EAP by calling 800-999-7222 or visiting www.anthemeap.com/TCSIG. So be strategic. What's the one small action you can implement immediately that will boost you having a better day? Maybe it's something as simple as starting your day with, what am I looking forward to? Instead of that long to-do list. Or ending your day reflecting on what went well. I'm Amy Grayson. I'll remind you again that happiness is a journey, not a destination. By embracing these tips and strategies, I'm hoping that you will have many more happy moments and find lasting joy and fulfillment in your life.